Hello. Today I want to talk about the concept of the public sphere, initially developed by the German sociologist and philosopher Jurgen Habermas. The concept has proved to be extremely influential and has generated a massive literature, both explicating and critiquing Habermas's original conception. Here I will merely outline the main elements of the basic theory. The concept received its first detailed description in a work Habermas published in German in 1962 in fulfillment of the requirements for his professorship. Despite its later massive impact, it was not published in English translation until 1989 under the title The Structural Transformation of the Public Sphere, an Inquiry into a Category of Bourgeois Society. Habermas defined the public sphere as the sphere in which private people come together as a public, that is, a discursive space separate from both the sphere of public authority, embodied in government and state institutions, and the private sphere of people's private lives of family, friends, and daily life. In the public sphere, it is possible to openly discuss matters of public concern. Historically, with rare exceptions, such as the mass meetings of citizens in some of the ancient Greek city-states and Swiss cantons, this was not possible in traditional societies. Matters of public concern were discussed and decided on by the governing elite, with no reference to the ideas of those outside of the elite. These ideas were not publicly or significantly discussed by the general mass of the people. In Western Europe, this pattern began to be challenged with the rise of the bourgeoisie in the early modern period. The bourgeoisie were concerned to discuss matters of concern to them, and if possible to influence the decision-making of the political elite. Habermas, I should say, adopts a rather francophone approach here and focuses his particular attention on the 18th century, whereas it could be argued that this public sphere emerged earlier in England and Holland. The emerging public sphere was an arena of public debate in which issues of general concern could be discussed and opinions formed. The locales for such debates included London coffee houses and Paris salons, as well as the burgeoning print media of news sheets, newspapers, and periodicals. In such venues, participants were able to freely discuss contemporary issues and define and shape what they increasingly represented as public opinion, separate from and potentially critical of the policies of the government and other authorities. These developments were linked to a certain democratization of society, specifically limitations on the coercive powers of the state, a minimization of censorship, which allowed the development of critical literature and journalism, and the concept of individual rights. There was also the social inclusiveness of the public sphere, with its disregard for traditional social exclusions amongst its participants, and its internal openness to debate, regardless of the participants' different social backgrounds. I should note here that critics of Habermas have argued that the extent of this inclusiveness in practice was quite limited, but I will leave such questions for another video. Moreover, although only a small number of people might be involved as discussants, public political debates were vital to the early development of democracy, establishing the idea of resolving political problems through public discussion. Again, there was a growing belief that a government's legitimacy depended in part on its responsiveness to public opinion. For Habermas, the public sphere was a characteristic of the emerging liberal capitalist societies of the 18th and early 19th centuries, but it was in turn challenged by the consumerist mass democracies that were developing from the late 19th century onwards. These combined a mass media focused on consumerist advertising interests and the mass entertainment manufactured by the culture industry rather than political principles, and public opinion was reduced to a marketable commodity managed by public relations experts rather than formed through rational discussion. Under such conditions, the political process itself was stage managed to the benefit of commercial interests, pressure groups and vested interests, and the public sphere as a forum for open, reasoned debate contracted and became significantly less important. Habermas's work remains formative and stimulating for a wide range of different thinkers. I may discuss other aspects of this work and the response to these hypotheses in future videos. Thank you for listening.